Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the NFL Super Friends here on the Chase Thomas podcast. Where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joined back again by everybody. We've got Evan back. We've got JP back. We've got Jarrett back. The NFL Super Friends are back once again on this late Monday night. Evan, Sowards, 49ers Hub, back from a few weeks away. Evan, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. JP Acosta, also here of SBNation.com. JP, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're winding down. We're getting close to draft, and now I'm just ready for it to be done.
When's the draft?
The 25th through the 27th of April.
Okay. So yeah, just a few more weeks. We're getting closer. It's lost some juice though, I feel like. I think free agency ramped up the juice because we're like, oh, how is this going to affect their draft? How is this going to do that? And then obviously the combine and some workouts and stuff, pro days. There was a lot of juice. And now these last few weeks, you're just like, I don't know. Everyone's just ready to see what teams do. Like we don't want to read anymore about the Vikings and that they might or might not trade up. We know what the Vikings are going to do. They're not going to stick with those two picks in the first round. Also here of USA Today, the Pump Bake, A to Z Sports, and Behind the Steel Curtain, Jarrett Bailey. Jarrett, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Just booked a few concerts I'm going to be going to in the next few months, so I'm excited about that.
Where are you going?
So I'm seeing the Amity Affliction, who I saw a couple years ago. They're one of my favorite bands. They're coming in May.
Okay.
And then I'm seeing Hollywood Undead in July, and I'm going to mark out. It's going to be
I
great.
haven't heard that name in a very long time.
Those are like two prime Jarrett Bailey bands. So
Big
like
time,
you're seeing like top of the list.
Big time. Yeah. I've never seen Hollywood Undead live, so this will be that'll be a first. I'm excited
Are you going to wear earplugs?
No, I'm going to be in the pit, and I'm going to be going berserk.
Oh, you're going to be ringing.
He's
We're going to call him Tinnitus Bailey from here on out.
I'm going to be throwing bows in the mosh pit and enjoying myself. Yeah.
Don't get hurt, Jarrett.
This isn't my first rodeo, Chase Thomas. This isn't my first rodeo. Don't you worry. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
There you go. What's y'all's number one concert? If y'all go to any concert this year, who would you go see?
Oh, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
If I can see anyone this year that's around right now, or
that's around right now, that's touring, that's applicable.
I'm going to see, this is probably a me thing, but I'm going to see Dayseeker and Rain City Drive. And they're two of my favorite bands. And like Dayseeker's much bigger, especially more popular right now. And I've been like commenting on their stuff like, you need to like tour with Rain City Drive because they're very similar. And like just like, not even thinking. And then one day they announced the tour and I was just like, this is heaven. So it's going to be in San Diego, which is just a dope city to go visit and then not stay. Very excited.
I love it.
Dayseeker's very good.
Incredible band. Even better live.
I haven't seen them live. I do very much want, whenever they come to Pittsburgh next, I will be seated.
Definitely recommend.
Who would I pick?
The last concert I've been to was where I went to Outkast's last concert together in Centennial Park back when I lived in Atlanta. That was an all-time great day. That was fun. And like to be able to say forever that I was there when their last concert as a group, and they came out last. It was an all-day event, and we had really good passes. I remember my friend hooked us up with at the time, and I ran into Rimbert Brown from Grantland, who had on his Falcons homage, and I was like, got a good picture together. But it was that was a really, really, really fun thing because like you don't know what Atlanta is until the lights go out, and then the beginning of Bombs Over Baghdad start playing, and you just see Andre 3000 jump out and the lights turn on. I've never heard a crowd still today react the way they did for those like first 10 seconds of Bombs Over Baghdad for At Last in Centennial Park. It was a fun time. That was a trip down memory lane.
I got to see Outkast with Kanye West, The Weeknd, G-Eazy, The Weeknd and G-Eazy I couldn't care less about, and Foo Fighters headlined.
Just a random
what
shot
is G-Eazy doing in there?
Well, it was like, no, I mean, like those were just the names of the people we saw, but like it was called Life is Beautiful in Vegas. But yeah, I mean, basically we went there for Kanye, Outkast, and Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters.
Post Malone's supposed to be releasing his country album, I think, this year. So whenever that happens and when he tours it, that's something I want to be present for, because that's gonna. Yeah, he has songs with Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs on it, so I will be very much ready for that.
You got a very eclectic music taste, Jarrett Bailey. You're all over the place.
Yeah,
like you can make your way to Luke Combs and then find your way to Hollywood Undead an hour later.
Hicks Tape 3 just came out, and on it is Toby Keith's last recorded song, which he did with Luke Combs, and it's very good. So yeah, been in a very country groove the last few days.
I don't like all these random bands just trying to like do country now just so they can get more market share. Like, it's so corporate. Like, it just seems so corporate and fake to me.
I haven't seen. I mean,
Beyonce just came out with a fucking country album. Like, what?
She did?
Yes,
it was great too.
And everyone's saying it was good. Like, but it's also Beyonce. Like, so I'm not really like expecting anything she does to be bad.
She's from Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she got Texas. It's a little authentic.
None of it's authentic. They're all doing it.
Well,
everybody
what I'm saying is
doing it.
Who else did it? Because now that I'm trying to put together, like, obviously Post Malone, I just named Post Malone, but Post Malone has been like flying around.
Diplo came out with a country album. Obviously Beyonce.
Yeah.
What are the big ones? I mean, there's a bunch that are like literally in the last 2 years has been a bunch.
Okay.
Well, fellas, even with us being in the doldrums of the NFL, in between with the free agency and NFL draft, there's still a lot of NFL stuff that we can talk about that I wanted to pick y'all's brains on. Evan, first thing, since you've been away for a couple weeks, the next move that you would like to see your San Francisco 49ers make this spring is what?
Justin Blackmon, safety.
I
mean, at now in this part of the season, there's not like, swing for the fence, home run hits, or anything like that. But what I will say is I want depth at safety. Obviously Talanoa Hufanga. I know it's weird saying Talanoa Hufanga all pro, but he was an all pro. Is coming back from an ACL injury, and we're gonna need a little bit of wiggle room until he's like fully ready to go, especially considering training camp and all that. So I definitely want the depth. I also think that like Blackmon, I think he'll play better in this defense, as I think every defensive player plays better in this defense just because of how easy it is.
Okay, you made a face there, JP. Do you like that fit?
Julian Blackmon makes a lot of sense. I think it's...
Oh God, I said Justin Blackmon. Jesus Christ. The receiver.
It's fitting for the 49ers.
That's where JP's face came from. He remembered the Justin Blackmon experience.
Well, of course he does.
Yeah. I heard Justin Blackmon.
Jaguars legend.
I was like, you sure you want to go and sign Justin Blackmon? I don't think he wants to play football right now. But Julian Blackmon makes a lot of sense. As good as Talanoa Hufanga was, I think he is also limited in terms of what he can do on the back end. And Julian Blackmon provides a nice complement to that, especially with Deshaun Gibson getting older. You're trying to get Julian Blackmon is 25 years old, still entering the prime of his career. A duo of Hufanga and Julian Blackmon with Deshaun Gibson rotating in is actually pretty fun. That's something that's a 49ers addition that will help build for the present and the future of the secondary, especially as going into 2025, there might be some new faces in that defense. Tarvarius Ward is going to be a free agent after this season. There's going to be some new faces. So I think it really makes sense if Julian Blackmon was a 49er.
I like it. Well, your team was also a little bit busy here, JP Acosta. Your team extended my old friend Foye Oluokun, who was a really good linebacker, came on with the Falcons. It kind of hurt to watch him go and get paid by the Jags, but it seems like it's been good because I think the immediate reaction, right, when it happened was a little bit of an overpay for Jacksonville. And then, you just saw the dude's a tackling machine. The guy is obviously extremely gifted there, but do you like the Foye extension in Jacksonville, and has he been worth the money and the investment by the Jags?
So on the micro scale, I really like it. Foye Oluokun is one of the most, if not the most underrated linebacker in the NFL. For a large part of the season, he and Josh Allen were holding together the Jaguars defense like Peter Parker in the Spider-Man meme, holding the two trains together. But on the larger scale, this feels like another issue with what Jacksonville has done in the draft because they signed Foye Oluokun, and then drafted Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma in the same draft in 2022 in the first and third round, respectively. Neither of those guys has panned out. Devin Lloyd, we're still waiting for the breakout. He has just been okay. He might even be bad. Chad Muma is bad.
Ooh.
But the reason they had to extend Foye is because neither of those guys actually are good right now. So it's like, yeah, this is good to do. You're paying good players, but you wouldn't have been in this situation if either of those guys had panned out. And I feel like that's the biggest issue for the Jaguars, especially under Trent Baalke, is in the micro scale, it has been a good move. Like signing Gabe Davis in a micro scale, I understand why. But now you still have a hole at receiver. You still have holes at corner, and you've drafted those positions specifically to improve the depth and top-end talent, and you still don't have the top-end talent and depth. So I like the move, but I also think it's reflective of an issue that Trent Baalke has with drafting.
Are you closing the door on Devin Lloyd working out, or is it a schematic fit? Is it something that when you think about Ryan Nielsen coming in, do you think that's a better DC for him?
I think for him, it's just he has to know how to play linebacker. At Utah, he was used all over the field, used on the edge. He's much more of a, you want to get him in multiple alignments, let him come downhill. And now in Jacksonville, he's being asked to read a lot of stuff. He's being asked to cover tight ends down the seam. And that's just not something he can do right now. He hits a major wall in the second half of the season when the Jaguars defense starts to take a downturn. So it's tough. It's tough because you want him to pan out, but I don't think they're picking up that fifth-year option when that time comes around.
That's interesting. But we'll see ultimately what happens there. Foye, though, I think he's just like a high ceiling guy, right? Or a high floor guy. Like, yeah, he's solid.
He is phenomenal. He is, again, the most underrated linebacker in the league. The stuff that he does against the run, and while not being a stiff in the passing game, unlocks so much stuff for the Jaguars defense. And when he and Josh Allen are playing well, normally the Jaguars defense is playing well.
I like it. Jarrett, I saw him behind the steel curtain this week. Yeah, we're talking about, because we've been wondering about the tackle spot and what Pittsburgh might do outside of draft big Georgia players, which is, hey, bold strategy, Cotton, but let's see if it pays off for him. But you talked about whether or not where Jarrett Moore lands when you look at tackles across the NFL. Where in your estimation does he land in the NFL right now?
Who was that?
Moore.
Oh, Dan Moore is.
I said, why did I say Jarrett Moore? I meant Dan.
I don't know. I was confused.
I just put your name, and I put your name double, and that did not mean to do that.
It's okay.
Dan Moore, excuse me.
I mean, Dan Moore, I think, first of all, I know that he's well liked in the building. So I think that he's a really good depth piece to have. And the thing in the NFL is like there's no such thing as depth offensive lineman. I get that. But in terms of like what he was last year, I think it would be irresponsible of the Steelers to go into the season with him as the left tackle. I think he's fine, to have in place of injury and whatnot. But the report came out too today about players who earn the most off of like incentives or like payment incentives. And Dan Moore had $790,000 in incentives that he earned, which is 23rd in the NFL. So
he was number one.
I don't know.
It was John Simpson from the Baltimore Ravens, who's now on the New York Jets.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dan Moore, fine guy to have that can start like a couple games and whatnot. As a full-time left tackle, I don't like that, and I think the Steelers agree with that. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan have both been asked a lot this offseason about, hey, you're going to keep Broderick Jones at right tackle, or are you going to move him to left tackle? both of them have been pretty adamant about, hey, we drafted Broderick to be a left tackle. It's just a matter of when we make that transition for him to go back to the left side. I think that the plan will be, for the Steelers in the first 2 rounds, whatever order it may be, to take a guy who will be the next center, because they don't really have a center on the roster right now, and somebody else who can either A, play left tackle and they just keep Broderick on the right side, or someone who can be that right tackle and they can move Jones to the left. That's why Marius Mims makes a lot of sense, because he is that natural right tackle that they can put over there. The kid from Notre Dame as well, whose name is the other one, the other tackle.
Blake Fisher.
Blake Fisher, yeah, that's another name that's been connected to them. Patrick Paul as well from Houston. So, I mean, they have options in terms of what they want to do at that spot. Graham Barton could be a guy that they take and move inside. If they want to take Zach Frazier from West Virginia to at center, maybe Jackson Powers Johnson, depending on where he falls. But the 2 biggest things for them right now are what they decide to do at left tackle and who is going to be the center. It's, I would say, 99% likely going to be someone who they draft is going to be the center. But it's a greater than 0 chance that Dan Moore's, still the week 1 starter. And even if they do draft a guy like they did last year, they took Roger Jones in the first round last year. He didn't become a starter until midseason. So they were patient to a fault, I would say, especially with Broderick Jones last year with their rookies. But I would expect whomever are the starters to be guys they draft probably within the first 2 rounds.
Interesting. JP, when you talk about, when Jarrett, you're talking about Broderick Jones making that flip, and that's always kind of in the plan. I mean, JP, you were talking about it last week, I think, where Penei Sewell is kind of the exception to the rule. Is Broderick Jones also an exception to the rule that he can play either side?
Well, I think the Steelers were really dumb because Broderick Jones played left tackle in college, and then they moved him to right. He looked good. He looked fine early at right tackle, but it was clear he was much more comfortable on the left side. They could have just moved him to left, where you play your first round pick after he naturally played there for the first 3 years.
Dude, and not only that, but they benched a better tackle in Chuks Okorafor and kept the worst tackle, Dan Moore, in. Chuks Okorafor is now in New England, and he's going to start at right tackle. So the entire strategy of that, it was not good.
Yeah, it was just weird what they were doing. And to me, it's really hard going from left to right or right to left, because it's basically like muscle memory. These guys have been playing left or right tackle for probably the last 4 to 8 years of their lives. That kick slide, the ability, the different hand usage, those things change when you go over to the left side. I think Dan Pompey from The Athletic wrote a story about Tristan Wirfs moving from right to left last year, and he was very adamant about, like, I needed to go to therapy because I didn't think I knew I could do this. So it's a much more difficult thing than people realize, because this isn't just Madden. You can't just flip them from left to right and have nothing change, or flip them from right to left and have nothing change. But in Broderick Jones' case, he'll probably be fine because he was a left tackle in the first place. The Steelers were just stupid.
Well, that's exciting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe, and no pressure or anything. You just traded for Justin Fields and signed Russell Wilson. No pressure on getting the tackles right going into this year.
And I think that's why the first 2 picks that they have are going to be on the offensive line. I think whoever they take in the first 2 rounds, it's going to be a tackle and then a center, just to really fix the issues that they had up front last year, because they released Mason Cole because he was really bad at center. And I think that they know internally, like, okay, Dan Moore can't be our starting left tackle. Like, that can't be the plan again. So I would like to see them bring in a guy to put on the right side and move Broderick back to left, because, again, that is his natural position. He played well at right tackle last year. And the Steelers' run game basically ran through him. But I would prefer to see him on the left side. And a lot of the things that I think played into them having him on the right side is that he was pretty raw in pass protection coming into last year. So, with another full camp under him, I think that you traded up for him, by the way. You didn't just draft him, you traded up to get him. So hopefully going into week 1, Broderick Jones is on the left side. Zach Frazier or JPJ are at center. And then whomever else they draft, whether that be Amarius Mims or whoever will be on the right side.
I love it. Any other big news this week in Steelerland, Jarrett Bailey?
Any other big news in Steelerland? Cordero Patterson, that happened. Did we talk about that last week?
We did not talk about that because that happened after, and it happened right after. And this is something I guess let's just weave the Cordero part of this into the new kickoff rules, because is that the rationale? Because I saw nationally that was kind of like the thinking there was that Cordero Patterson is extremely more valuable. I mean, he's always valuable as a VFL, but more valuable in the new kickoff rule era. Is that part of it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, literally like 2 hours after the rule was changed, the Steelers signed Cordero Patterson. So it's not as if that was coincidence. You know, they saw, oh, okay, new kickoffs. Cordero Patterson's out there. He's got the most kickoff returns in NFL history for a touchdown. Let's go sign him. So yeah, that was definitely a strategic move by Pittsburgh. That wasn't coincidence. But yeah, I think the rule's good. I like that. You know, it makes kickoffs, brings them back into the game where I think what was it, only 22% of kickoffs were returned last year. So
and that seems high. Like I would have guessed lower than that, right? When y'all are watching games, does it feel like what? Right, yeah. I would say close to like 10. Like 1 out of every 10, you're kind of surprised.
Yeah. I remember when the Niners like ran it out of a couple times. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah,
get down. Yeah.
So, and if I'm correct, like the new rule really like incentivizes teams to not kick touchbacks like through the back of the end zone because where the ball comes out is better field position for the team receiving. So it's good. I'm very glad that special teams are, especially the kickoff is being more enforced or made important again. And cannot wait to be in person in Latrobe watching Danny Smith with the 9 pieces of gum that he's got in his cheek. Chewing gum, spitting everywhere, directing the kickoff team for the Steelers. Going to be a very fun time in Latrobe watching special teams.
Evan, do you like it? Are you excited about the new NFL kickoff rules?
I mean, yeah, like we've already talked about, like the last season, it was just like a non-existent approach to having it. So, I mean, if it's going to cause people to either actually return the ball out or just like, punt it, proverbially punt it. I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like kicking in general is like already like hanging on by a thread in terms of why do we even need this? And so like, if you're just going to have everyone doing, calling touchback, just put the ball at the 20-yard line and let's go. Like, why waste even a kick?
Right.
So
that's
I agree. Like we've gotten to the point where like we're just doing this out of nostalgia. Where we're like, I think where the NFL is worried that fans are gonna like revolt. Where they're like, whoa, this is the line. Like, look, you hip drop tackle is one thing, but don't take away my kickoff for those 7 seconds for me to really settle in with my nachos. Like, it just doesn't feel right aesthetically.
While we're talking about rules, I have a great idea for a rule proposal that I might do I might do a whole column on it because I think it's genius. And nobody else is going to agree with me. So instead of games ending in a tie after overtime, we treat it like hockey, and we go to a shootout, and we start from the 25-yard line and have a back and forth field goals. And if both teams make it, move the ball back 5 yards, keep doing it until one team misses and the other team makes it. That's how you determine the winner. No more ties in the NFL. Easy peasy.
I'll do you one better. So each team gets an offensive play, but the ball has to go to a lineman.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
The ball has to go to a lineman. If they score, you win the game. If you don't,
that's fun.
Yeah.
Joe Staley coming out of retirement.
Get the most athletic people on the field, the ball in their hands. It can be a defensive lineman too that you put on offense.
Oh, Tavondre Sweat's gonna eat.
Yeah, like this would be like, we can call it the JJ Watt rule.
Yeah. Jordan Davis.
Where's the ball spotted for this?
We'll put it at like the 5. I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you put it at the 2, then somebody's just going to run it in every time, and that's just going to be.
Yeah.
We'll put it at the 5.
Okay.
I would do like a Hail Mary rule where you get 3 shots from the 25, but the ball has to travel into the end zone, and you get 3 or 4 shots, whatever.
Look,
and then if you don't get
quarterbacks who might not make it to the end zone
from the 25.
Oh, like a Hail Mary?
Yeah, I'm just saying like the ball has to travel and you go further back. Or maybe you start back, you start in the 40 or 50, and then after each period, you get closer and closer. But the ball has to travel into the end zone. Like you have to throw the ball into the end zone or it doesn't count. So if the ball comes up with like the 5 and they run it in, doesn't count. You have to throw it in. You just keep chucking it in the end zone.
I don't know, because I feel like you could, as a defensive coordinator, I'm just saying, all right, all of you stand there and knock it down.
Well, you say that. There's nothing more exhilarating than winning on a walk-off Hail Mary. As someone who watched Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings,
how
who
often does
49ers
that
for
happen?
life.
Right.
How often does that happen?
I know, but if you do it in the overtime, it's fun. People get to see it. I don't know. It would happen a little bit more often. It'd be fun.
Yeah, but it
I don't know.
probably won't happen. Like outside of like the kickoff, a converted Hail Mary is probably like the rarest thing to see on the.
Yeah, maybe that would take away some of that. Cool factor.
I'm all for the hockey style shootout. I think that it's very fun and it makes kickers matter more, which is going to irritate some people. But
I was going to say that they're trying to go the opposite way.
I don't care.
I don't know. I think it's going to be fun though. Either way, it will be weird though. It's going to be weird for all of us to see this play out in an NFL game.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be
strange.
I think it's going to be good.
Cool. I think it's cool because the NFL saw what the XFL did last year, saw it work, saw people had fun with it, and they immediately tried to adopt the rule. Something that the Philadelphia Eagles have been trying to do for the last 3 or 4 years is instead of onside kick, if you want the ball in the fourth quarter, you convert a 4th and 15.
So much more sense.
Would be incredibly fun, but they've just decided like you have to declare when you're onside kicking, which ruins the surprise onside kick. Like that moment from the Saints-Colts Super Bowl is never going to happen again.
4th and 15, that Eagles rule is awesome. Like I would absolutely sign up for that. Like that would just be fantastic stuff. It's also like I cover a lot of high school games on Fridays in the fall here, and they still take them out. Like it's kind of jarring. Like they take it to the house. Like you'll see, dude, every time. Like it's just kind of jarring that you just have forgotten how much it's just been removed from the college and pro game. But high school game, you go to high school game on Friday night, they're taking that out because those kickers can't kick it out of the end zone. They can't do any of that. They're taking it out.
Also, if you got a dude who is at least fast, you're probably going to score at least a couple of touchdowns because the gulf between fast for a guy who might play in college versus fast for a guy who might stop playing in high school is massive.
Yes.
And
it's mean.
On top of the speaking of the 4th and 20 rule, like, can you imagine? And I think maybe I could be wrong, but I think the reason why some teams would say no to this is because, like, okay, you got Patrick Mahomes down by 16 with 3 minutes left. They score, get a 2-point conversion. All of a sudden, they're down one possession and only have to convert a 4th and 20 to get the ball right back. And
just play good defense.
Yeah.
And I get that, man. I do. And I'm for the rule happening, but just playing devil's advocate here, if I have to think of why they would push back on it, that would be my guess as to why.
I also think coaches are very arrogant and like, if it's a 4th and 15, we can get a stop. It's 4th and 15. Like if you can't stop an offense from getting 15 yards on 4th down, you don't deserve to win the game.
I like that. I'm with DJP. Evan, would you have wanted the 49ers to trade for Haason Reddick before the Jets ultimately did? And when you look at the trade package, would that have been something that would have made you happy?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for that, it was like a third and a fifth and then paying him.
So that would have made sense for the Niners. Would that have moved the needle for them?
I mean, I think so. You look at like here, let me just say this. The 49ers have made a lot of attempts to pair Nick Bosa up with someone that doesn't suck. And it is just like constant bargain bin shopping, right? They try to get lucky getting Randy Gregory's. They signed Clelin Ferrell and he actually did well, right? It's all these reclamation projects in the Chris Kasurik school of hard knocks. So it's like, I think if you get someone that's actually talented, we've just all been waiting to see it. I think everyone wants to see it. Like, what does Nick Bosa look like next to another really good pass rusher? I mean, I know it's like maybe a little too, I'm asking for too much at this point. Like, what more do the 49ers need? But I would have liked it.
So what do they do? Who's going to be the starting guy opposite of Bosa right now? Who's it figuring to be?
The friends we made along the way.
Leonard Floyd.
It's going to be Leonard Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd for sure. And he's not, by the way, I think he's better than most. Good. Yeah, like
Leonard Floyd is a good number 2.
Yeah.
Like I think that's probably going to, without any kind of like competition, be the best defensive end that they'll have paired next to Bosa.
I want to say he had 10 sacks last year in Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, his also pressure rate was incredible. Like
he'll definitely be the best since Ameniu.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think Ameniu was not the talent that Floyd was before he came in and played with Kasurik. So we'll see where it levels out.
I think Reddick would have worked in San Francisco, but I also think Haason Reddick is not that great at defending the run. You bring him in for one reason and one reason only, and that's to rush the passer. Like, it makes sense for the Jets because you don't have to play him on early downs. Like, you can use him like you use Bryce Huff, and you can have John Franklin Myers on the outside early and then kick him inside on passing downs. If Haason Reddick were to play in San Francisco, he'd have to be on the field for early downs. And you kind of create the same problem that the 49ers have had since the defensive scheme kind of shifted. And since drafting Nick Bosa is whichever way Nick Bosa is lined up or whichever way Fred Warner is, run away from them because that's where they put their 285-pound nose tackle and Chris Kasurik, like reclamation project.
The thing with we talk about the other side of this with the Jets now is, you look at them defensively. Obviously, they were good last year defensively. The offense was just putrid, and they keep adding pieces to that side of the ball. If Rodgers is just 70% of what he used to be, I mean, that's at least a 9-win team on paper. And then all of a sudden, the AFC East, man. I mean, you got Buffalo, who's won the division for 4 or 5 straight years. The Dolphins will be, still explosive and still in the mix. And then the New York Jets, man, could be fun.
Listen,
I just worry with the Jets because you're counting on Mike Williams to be healthy for 17 games, and I don't think that's not going to happen.
You guys, the New York Jets got the number 2 pick in the draft. They had the opportunity. They took what they thought that was the best quarterback. The universe said no, bust. They then try a bunch of other things, finally land Aaron Rodgers, arguably still in almost his prime, tears his Achilles. The world is not going to allow the New York Jets to be good at football. There is no world where they're going to come out and really go swinging. Aaron Rodgers just got talked about as being the vice president for a presidential candidate that can't get 2% of the vote.
And then got beat by Shanahan.
We're not even done. Yeah. We're not even done yet with the weird stuff that's going to continue to happen with New York Jets. Think about it. Training camp has to still happen. The draft, I think we're not done with all the weird storylines coming out of New York, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Aaron Rodgers is washed after tearing his Achilles.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a possibility, where this thing just doesn't work. But there's also a world where it does, and the Jets are a wild card team, and hell, maybe win the division. I don't think that they will. I still think Buffalo's going to be that team that wins the division, but there's a world where the Jets figure it out and put it together.
I think it'd be incredibly funny if the Jets win the division because they have the defense. The defense is loaded,
sure,
and incredibly talented. In an era where it's so hard to maintain defensive consistency, they have had that for the last 4 years. So now you add, if Aaron Rodgers can just be okay, if he's just fine, then they're probably going to make the wild card. But you don't trade for Aaron Rodgers to just be fine. You trade for him to win a Super Bowl. And can he do that at 40 years old? We'll see.
We shall see. Well, there's a lot of time for that, and we'll talk more Jets when we get to that point in our preview summer series and all that good stuff. But JP, Love it or leave it this week. The Carolina Panthers are quietly having a good offseason.
I say this very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers have had a good offseason.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I understand paying you're balking at paying Robert Hunt $100 million, paying Damian Lewis $50 million. They're the Panthers. You have to overpay. You have to. With an owner like they have, with a quarterback that isn't really showing anything right now, you have to overpay. And what I think they've done is you see what the vision is going to be for the Carolina Panthers. And it is they're going to run the piss out of the football, and then they're going to stop the piss out of the run. You know, they are going to stop the run and run the ball. Robert Hunt at right guard, Damian Lewis at left guard. I think it makes a lot of sense for a short quarterback who faced a lot of pressure up the middle. You still need to fix that for Bryce Young. And I think Dave Canales has said, like, explicitly, they want to run the ball. They want Bryce Young to get the ball out of his hands. I think that's the best way you can get Bryce Young to be successful in the NFL is if you turn him into a point guard, quick game style operator. I think trading for Deontay Johnson is sick. Like, he is such an easy separator that's going to help in the RPO game, in the quick game where Bryce Young tends to succeed. It allows Adam Thielen to be less of a number one and more of a two. It allows Jonathan Mingo to be truly in the power slot role. You still need another receiver. You can still go add one. But now you don't necessarily have to add a guard in free agency or in the draft. Now you can go with that 33rd or 39th pick, you can go address the defense, which is going to need a lot of help still. You can go and get another edge rusher. You can go and add another corner if you want to. It just opened up so many abilities for the Panthers heading into April that I am cautiously optimistic about what they're doing. I'm not saying like it's going to be, they're going to instantly turn it around because I don't think so. They're 3 years away from being 2 years away. So it's going to take a little while, but I think I like what they've done.
Are you just as optimistic, Jarrett?
Yeah, man, I like the moves that they've made. You know, they had a clear vision in mind, which is okay. You know, let's get some nice pieces on the offensive line. They traded scraps for Deontay Johnson. It gives Bryce Young a legitimate number one receiver who, like JP said, is a natural separator, a good route runner, and a Dave Canales offense. I mean, that I think he's going to thrive. So, getting Bryce as much help as he can get, that's objective number one. I would still like to see them get another receiver because Adam Thielen is right under 39 years old or whatever the hell.
Can we just say real quick? Can we just applaud his agent for all the like press he's getting out of Thielen? Like they're out here like putting Adam Thielen on the posters, on the ticket sales. They're like,
I mean, who the hell else are they gonna put? There's no one else there. So,
really though, it's crazy.
A lot of guys left very quickly. And you know what's funny too? They used to be like, they had so many notable guys like Kuechly, Peppers, Thomas Davis. They've had Josh Norman, Steve Smith. Like you actually think about it, like they've had so many actually like recognizable figures. And right now they just don't really have those guys to market.
And they got wasted by Ron Rivera.
Also,
Cam Newton, obviously, too.
Jadeveon Clowney, signed by the Panthers. This team is going to stop the piss out of the run. They want to stop the run. Ashawn Robinson being there. Josie Jewell being a signing.
That's a good signing.
Good signing for them. Next to Shaq Thompson, who's coming off a broken leg. I really do like what they've done, and it frees up what they're able to do in the draft.
And I would say their biggest loss was losing Frankie Louvu, but again, they signed Josie Jewell to try to kind of fill that hole. So I
mean, they did trade away Brian Burns. Like
they did trade away.
That's their biggest loss.
Even then, man, like I understand that is a big loss, but it kind of goes back to the conversation we had about running backs last year. Obviously, edge rusher being a much more important position, but he's been there for how long, and they've won a grand total of nothing with him. So, like, I thought that they could have got a little bit more. What did they get for Brian Burns?
A second and a fifth.
I thought that they could get. If you're going to trade him for a second and a fifth, why not trade him when the Rams are offering you 2 firsts? Like, because what was the point there?
The price now, or what is the line?
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah, I guess so. To
be fair to the Panthers, because I have crushed them for that as well. It was 2 different regimes. Fitter was not willing to trade Brian Burns, and you had to cut ties because he was not going to sign with them anyway.
No,
especially at $157 million, which is what he got from the Giants. But losing Brian Burns is obviously a big gap to fill because he is very, very good. So that's probably their biggest hole. Frankie Louvu, I think, is fun, very good linebacker, but they have holes to fill, especially in the pass rush department. But getting veterans like Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Wanham, Ashawn Robinson, that helps raise their floor from off of being like the doormat of the NFL to just being a little. You can get up off the ground, you can dust yourself off a little bit, look a little respectable.
I like it. Jarrett, your favorite Lions offseason move thus far is what?
Favorite Lions offseason move thus far? I had it in my head, and then I was, DJ Reader. Yeah, I think that was, putting him next to Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, there's a little bit of risk with that because he's coming off the quad. But if he's good, man, that's arguably the best defensive interior run stopper in the NFL when healthy. So I like the move, getting Reader, putting him next to Aiden Hutchinson. I'm very excited about what the Detroit Lions are going to look like next year. Then we talked about the moves that they made last year. Their defense took a big step forward with a lot of those guys missing a lot of time with injuries, especially at the secondary. So I'm excited as to what they are going to look like, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I would like to see them get a receiver, a real perimeter threat in the draft, because as good as Amon-Ra is, he is a slot receiver that is going to slice and dice you over the middle. They don't really have a solidified field stretcher. So I would like to see them address that on offense. Outside of that, man, there's not like too many like gaping holes on this team. So I fully expect them to be back in the playoffs next year. I don't know if they're going to win the division because I kind of like Green Bay, but I think that they'll be right back in the playoffs. And I think that they'll be one of those teams that we talk about going into the season as, okay, who can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl? I think Detroit will still be very much solidified in that conversation.
Their biggest offseason move is retaining Ben Johnson.
That
is the biggest offseason move. They had to keep that offensive train rolling, and losing Ben Johnson would probably be the biggest detractor from what they were going to do long term. But keeping him around, again, we talked about it when it happened. Some guys are just comfortable calling plays and not worrying about anything else. I think more people need to have the courage to do that and just call plays. So good on him, but
I feel like that's relatively new though, because we've seen, routinely throughout the years where the best offensive and defensive play callers take the jobs, and like Josh McDaniels has done it twice and he stunk both times, but he keeps getting the jobs and whatnot. Ken Wisenhunt got a head coaching job. Like this is, a lot of, I feel like this whole thing of being comfortable just being an OC, that's more of a new concept than what it was in yesteryear.
Kinda, but I think even with Josh McDaniels, he took the Broncos job, but then went right back and then almost took the Broncos job and decided not to because he was cool calling plays for Tom Brady. I think it's not necessarily a new concept with coordinators just wanting to call their plays and run their side of the ball and not worry about anything else. I mean, shoot, Dick LeBeau just wanted to call plays, just wanted to draw up cool shit. Jim Schwartz.
But again, that was after he had gotten a head coaching job.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you get that taste and decide, like, I'm good.
Okay.
I guess now the biggest difference is you don't necessarily need that taste.
I think that's kind of the difference that I'm hinting at is, all these guys in the past who have, just reverted back to being coordinators, at least tried the head coaching thing, or like, the hell with that, not doing that anymore. Do you think that there's going to be like an uptick in guys who just say, nope, I'm staying right here?
I think there is, because the biggest thing about being a head coach is you don't get a lot of time. You are on a year-by-year contract as an NFL head coach. You need to show improvement immediately, unless you're like Dave Canales or even with Dan Campbell. Like you come in knowing this is going to take time. You are going to have to give me a few years to actually see the vision. So a lot of NFL owners, a lot of management don't share that same vision or share that patience. So a lot of guys just don't want to do that. Why stress yourself out thinking you're going to lose your job when you can just draw up Jared Goff 12-yard digs every play?
I love it. Evan, your most curious betting win total number right now in the NFL is who?
Ooh.
You know, I mean, I'm actually going to, like, I was going through them, and I think they got a lot of them really well. Like a lot of them, I've got a lot of, I mean, almost all of them I agree with, but I think the one that I would have to go with, just obvious reasons, is the Los Angeles Chargers. They have them at 8.5 wins.
Ooh.
And like, I mean, on paper, I could see maybe how you would say that, but like, I come from the school of Jim Harbaugh, and you know, when I say he had what, like 11? No, it was like 12 wins or something like that with Alex Smith in his first year.
I think they went 12-4 that year.
So, you know, Alex Smith played great, but he is not Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert is they might have had a better defense.
I was going to say, Justin Herbert doesn't have Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis and a lot of great players.
Well, neither did Jim Harbaugh. He had Takeo Spikes. And
was it Spikes there at the time?
Patrick Willis, and Navarro Bowman was he didn't play, I think, until the second year. Really, they drafted him, but they played Takeo Spikes. Jim Harbaugh loves playing veterans, and he will always play veterans over rookies, almost to a fault. But so yeah, 8.5 wins. You know, the Broncos are going to be a bit of a dumpster fire. The Chiefs are going to do what the Chiefs did. So I definitely see 10 wins being very plausible for the Chargers, just because
I'm surprised. Hold on, you went dumpster fire for the Broncos, but not the Raiders. I think the Raiders are gonna be the worst team in the AFC this year.
I think 100%. I'm just saying, like, I don't like the only team I'm saying is the Chiefs.
Devontae Adams traded by week 9. Chase Thomas.
Do you think it's gonna take that long?
I don't know. It depends on like what it's so hard with like different guys. Like, are we sure Devontae's not just hanging out? Like, he's like, I've done enough.
Just enjoying living in Vegas, cashing checks.
Like, are we sure Devontae really cares?
He was complaining about not getting targets after.
Yeah, in the Lions game, he was visibly pissed off last year.
I mean, in the game,
but then they benched Jimmy G and fired Josh McDaniels, and he was all of a sudden happy. Yeah.
No, but my point is he is very willing to complain. And they're going to be very bad next year.
Yeah.
They're going to be like aggressively bad. Their coaching staff is one of the weirdest NFL coaching staffs I've ever seen in history. I have no idea what the Raiders are doing except for just being good at being the Raiders.
And they just hired Tom Telesco.
They hired
Tom GM randomly late in the process.
Is their OC. Like, those are two horrible hires.
Everything about it just, the Raiders are going to be awful.
He is going to pad those stats.
Marvin Lewis, like
he's gonna get all the stats.
By the way, let's just so we're all aware, Rich Scangarello, who I won't even jokingly say 49ers legend, is one of the worst coaches, period.
He's what,
at the college level? Yeah, at the college level.
He was really bad with
as a coordinator
Will Levis at UK 2 years ago.
After being absolutely god-awful with the 49ers. Like, the Raiders are going to be god tier terrible.
The Chargers is a good over, though. You never want to say that going into any given year, but Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers and Herbert at 8.5 is a good over.
I don't know, bro. Like I've drank the Chargers Kool-Aid for like 3 consecutive years now, and they just consistently.
Well, it's not Jim Harbaugh though. Jim Harbaugh.
I will say it is an immovable force and an unstoppable object.
I hear you. I hear you there, and I was excited about the Harbaugh hire, and then he hired Greg Roman. And that makes
that's always been. He's won 13, 11, like 12 games with Greg Roman.
No, Chase. I will say this: the Greg Roman stick is so old at this point.
He got there and immediately hired his buddy, and that completely turned me off to them.
I don't know.
He hired Jesse Minter, who was also his buddy.
By the way,
okay, Jesse Minter was very successful coaching Michigan's defense. Greg Roman has failed at the last 2 spots that he's been at.
I don't know if he's failed.
Who's the Ravens running back that's just coming off injury?
Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
No,
J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins.
Are they going to hire? Or are they going to sign J.K. Dobbins now?
No, what they're going to do is they already signed Gus Edwards. They're going to draft, I don't think it's going to be Braylon Allen, but you know what? I'll pop Chase. They're going to draft Jalen Wright.
Let's
I think
go.
Jalen Wright and Gus Edwards would be a very cool 1-2.
Thunder and Lightning?
Thunder and Lightning. I think, look, it's Greg Roman is not a great passing game designer, but he can draw the hell out of some run game.
Well,
why pass the ball when you have Justin Herbert?
Remember, and I say this now, the starting tight end for the Chargers will have better stats than George Kittle next year. It doesn't matter who he is.
Oh, it's going to be great when it's Brock Bowers.
Whoever the number one tight end on the Chargers is will have more targets than George Kittle. Guaranteed.
I've already fully expressed my feelings about the Chargers in a column for USA Today, and I said basically the same thing I'm about to say now. And like, I love the Jim Harbaugh hire. He hired Greg Roman, who, again, if this was a situation where the Chargers had a mobile quarterback and it made sense, then sure, do the stuff that you did with Kaepernick, do the stuff you did with Lamar. You probably have some success with it for a couple years. What you have Justin Herbert, who is one of the 5 best throwers of the football in the NFL, and you bring in a run-first offensive coordinator for whatever reason, and right now doesn't have a number one receiver on his roster. Like Josh Palmer is his number one receiver with Quentin Johnson. I don't know, man. I don't. There's still a ton to fix on the defensive side, but I don't believe in the Chargers whatsoever. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid again, man. Not doing it.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a little bit, and I can't believe I'm defending Greg Roman here. But the run design is going to be great. I think the biggest thing with Justin Herbert on the Chargers has been we need to get Justin Herbert some help. The best way to help a quarterback is a run game. You help him with a run game, especially when you can get into bigger personnel and allow Justin Herbert to not to stop being a pinpoint precision thrower underneath, which he can do, but it's also let Justin Herbert throw the ball downfield. You let him throw downfield off of play action. Let him get vertical. I think if they stay at 5, they're going to draft a receiver. I think it's just too obvious, especially if Minnesota trades up to 4 to take J.J. McCarthy. And
then Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to fall in their lap.
Then you just write that in Sharpie and you forget about it. And then we have Justin Herbert throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr.
And all's well.
And everybody's just an idiot for letting that happen. So I think my bigger problem for the Chargers right now is they need multiple corners. Mm-hmm. They need a lot of help in the secondary. And I still don't believe in the linebackers. We'll see what happens. I mean, they could trade with Minnesota at 5. They could trade with them at 11 and trade back and get the 11th and 23rd pick.
That's a good question though. And I mean, maybe we can look at this down the road as we get into draft season deeply, but like, I'm really excited to see who Jim Harbaugh starts taking at linebacker, because again, those were fun times. I think they know, he knows how to look at that position. The only thing I want to say about this Jim Harbaugh experience coming from a man with so much PTSD, when you think about like the run game, which we know Greg Roman knows how to scheme for, he did have prime Frank Gore. And then he did go and get Lamar Jackson, arguably maybe the best thing a running back has ever had as a quarterback ever. One of the best running people, runners in the game of football. So Justin Herbert is not Lamar Jackson, and Gus Edwards is absolutely not Frank Gore. So I don't know if we can just assume that Greg Roman is going to recreate the magic that he always has in years past.
And if we really want to go deep pull, he was the offensive coordinator for Andrew Luck at Stanford, and Andrew Luck wasn't a dynamic dual threat.
Well, Andrew Luck was athletic. He held on.
Yeah, he ran.
Yeah, but so is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert doesn't get billed as athletic because he's 6'6", but he can move. It's not like I'm telling him to run design QB like action for like 15 times a game, but you weren't doing that with Andrew Luck.
Well, who was Stanford's running back then? Wasn't it Toby Gerhart?
There was a Stephon.
It wasn't
Taylor,
Bryce Love yet, right?
Toby Gerhart.
No, Bryce
Love was. I think Bryce Love
was post McCaffrey.
It was post McCaffrey.
Was he really?
I think it was Gerhardt. I think it was Gerhardt for sure.
Let me see. I think that was
I think it was
the
Gerhardt.
2011 Stanford team.
Yeah, that was just
Kobe
full of white guys on offense because there was Lucky quarterback Gerhardt and like Kobe Fleener at tight end.
Oh,
Kobe Fleener.
What a guy. Stephon Taylor, Tyler Gaffney.
I remember
Jeremy
Stephon Taylor.
Stewart, but not. I don't think that was.
Maybe Gerhardt.
No, not 2011. It was 2010.
You're talking about 2010 Stanford?
Yeah, because 2011 is the season the Niners.
Oh, that was Shaw. Yeah. So 2010 Stanford. That was Stephon Taylor, Tyler Gaffney. Then they had Doug Baldwin at receiver.
Yes.
Maybe Gerhardt got drafted.
Griff Whalen.
Griff Whalen.
Oh my
God. We're naming guys right now. Kobe Fleener.
Kobe Fleener is a guy.
Griff Whalen was Andrew Luck's version of who was it? Was it Kumro for Aaron Rodgers? Was that the guy he always wanted around?
Jake Kumro?
Yeah, wasn't that him?
I was gonna say he was Andrew Luck's Austin Collie.
Austin Collie.
Austin Collie was good, man. If he could stay healthy, Austin Collie was.
Well, there's a reason why he couldn't stay healthy. That's because Peyton Manning was leading him into the middle of two safeties every single play.
But they were so good together. Austin Collie.
Hey, wait, was 49ers legend Levine Toilolo on that 2010 Stanford team?
No, I think that was Shaw. That was a Shaw.
He was so bad in Atlanta. He was one of the most depressing signings where everyone was like, because he was post Tony G, and people were like, "Here's our Tony G replacement," and it was like, "This man is absolutely not Tony G replacement. This is quite bad and quite awful." It was like it was the Algie Crumpler had a backup way back in the day in Atlanta, and I forgot who it was. Where people were like, "He's just gonna go." Was it Graziano? I
feel like I should know that playing with the Michael Vick.
Who was the other tight end in that?
Yeah. It was. They had a backup with Algie Crumpler was a dude too. By the way, he was a Madden legend. Algie Crumpler was always.
I'm looking it up because that's good. It was a white dude, wasn't it?
No, it was
also had David DeCastro, legend.
David DeCastro,
Steelers legend, David DeCastro.
Steelers legend. Trent Murphy. I think they call him like the Yeti or something. Shane Scove, who had like the greatest college linebacker aesthetic ever. He had
Shane Scove, also 49ers legend.
49ers legend Shane Scove had the eye black, like the triangle that came all the way down his face like that. He was insane. He had the big face mask too, so you could only see his eyes. It was pretty badass.
Darnell Sanders was his name, by the way.
Oh, Levine Toilolo was on that team, but he was playing linebacker.
Oh, wait. But so the year before he was on as a tight end.
No, the 2011 team.
No, 2010.
The 2010, he was a sophomore linebacker. 2009, he got there as a freshman, and it looks like.
When was he playing tight end? He played tight end on that team, I thought.
No, he played a tight end in 2011, I think. Let's see.
This is such a, by the way, shout out to anyone listening.
People love this. What do you mean? People like everyone.
2000.
Dudes love naming guys.
If there was a podcast of just an hour where we just named random athletes and just went on tangents, it would get 1 million listeners a week.
Hold on, wait. Hold on. The 2009 recruiting class for Stanford was ranked 15th in the nation and 20th by Scout.com, and included Levine Toilolo, tight end, San Diego, California, hometown.
Yeah. But then he got moved to linebacker, and he was only used in a rare occasion. Like his senior year at Stanford in 2012, he played in 14 games. He's listed as a linebacker. He had 24 catches for 393 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I'm surprised he was a linebacker. He's so slow. That man was so slow in Atlanta.
Well, they played a 3-4, so he was
because this man didn't he could not move.
He was an edge player, and this was also like during the era when we actually had football players on the field, and edge players were huge and could defend the run. So that's what Levine Toilolo was doing, So he was a run defender and run blocker, and then was 6'8". So you just throw it to the 6'8" guy.
I love it. Final thing here before we wrap up tonight. Bailey's best. Jarrett Bailey, your favorite first round mock draft pick you've seen to this point. And what I mean by that, where you see the player and you see the team that they have him drafted and mocked to, and you think it's the perfect fit for both sides. What's your favorite one that you've seen?
Right now, I think for player and team, the Eagles need corners, and my favorite corner in this draft is Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo. So I did say, I cannot remember who it was. It might have been Eric Edholm of NFL.com who had one of his mocks with Mitchell going to Philadelphia. But, we've talked about the Eagles a little bit at length this offseason in terms of what was, went into their collapse this past season. And a lot of it was defensively that the guys just, especially in the secondary, like James Bradbury was old, Darius Slay is coming down a little bit. So they need fresh new faces at corner. And I really like Quinion Mitchell. I think that he'll be very good at the next level. And if you're Howie Roseman, and if you're that organization and he's sitting there, it would be hard for me to pass on him. So I think that's going to be one of the positions that they pay the closest attention to. I think it's going to be the position they take in the first round. And if he's sitting there, then that would be my favorite pick, at least one of my favorite picks of the first round. Should Quinion Mitchell go to Philadelphia?
I'm gonna be a hater real quick. There's no chance the Eagles draft a corner in the first round.
Huh.
You don't think so? They just don't do it.
Howie Roseman hasn't drafted a corner in the first round since like 2011.
Who was it?
I'm saying they should do it.
Who was that 2011?
Oh, that'd be a fun trivia poll. Who the hell would it have been their last?
Wait, who?
The last time the Eagles drafted a corner in the first round.
Oh, this is good.
Who was their first round pick in 2011?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna guess.
It wasn't a corner. It was
find the year. Find the year.
Danny Watkins, OG or offensive guard Baylor.
That's not a corner.
Was it 2014 then?
2014. Interesting.
I think it was 14. Because nope, it wasn't 14. Dang it.
Who is it? Who is the missing person? I'm trying to think who.
I think I know who it is.
I'm just going through like Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd.
Sheldon Brown.
Lito Shepherd. He was there for a minute.
They were together. That was a good duo.
That was a good duo.
Asamoah, but
wait. No, that's a.
I mean,
this is fun. This is the ultimate Howie Roseman thing. Where
last time they took a cornerback was Lito Shepherd in 2002.
Let's go.
2002.
Yeah.
Again, Howie Roseman never drafted a corner in the first round. I don't think they do it. I think he is too committed to the bit. I think he is
too committed to.
And by the way, before that, was it 1980 when they were calling it the DB? It's just Roynell Young. Wow.
That's wild.
Do you guys want to guess who the last linebacker the Eagles drafted in the first round?
Jeremiah Trotter.
No. Jeremiah Trotter, I think, was a
Nolan Smith
pick.
Last year.
He's an edge rusher. He doesn't count. That's a defensive lineman.
Just Sean Bradley?
No.
Damn it.
Hold on.
Jerry Robinson.
Linebacker in the first round.
It's Jerry Robinson.
Because Evan's looking. Cheater.
In 1979.
I've been looking. What you think I knew where you knew that it was
Lito I thought that you were gonna play a game and guess with us rather than use a cheat sheet.
It's 1979.
I didn't know it was that far back. I'm guessing Jeremiah Trotter and Sean Bradley.
Jeremiah Trotter was a 6th-round pick, I think.
Well, I didn't know where he was drafted.
Sean Bradley was definitely not a first-round pick, right?
I just knew.
Sean Bradley was.
I don't know where anybody was drafted outside, unless they were a steal or like a really high pick.
Jeremiah Trotter was drafted in the 3rd round. Good for him. Out of Stephen F. Austin.
His kid
will get drafted. Yeah.
Back when linebackers were made like real men, he was like 6 foot 260. That's a real linebacker right there.
JP just wants the return of like the wishbone and big guys. And just
he wants Jesse Tuggle back there.
Jesse Tuggle, real hooper. Real hooper right there.
Is this some like 1940s motherfucker?
Where's
Jesse Tuggle was a linebacker with Keith Brooking and the Falcons in the late 90s. He's a tackling machine. He only tackled. That was his thing. He led the team in tackles all the time.
Bring me Mike Allstott type backs.
Mike Allstott.
Bring them back.
God, well, first off, his name is Kyle Juszczyk, and he plays for the San Francisco 49ers.
He don't run it like Mike.
He just has well, first off,
Jim Kleinsaucer.
He's not asked to run it like Mike.
Bring back Kleinsaucer. He was underrated. People all was about
all just naming like fullbacks now. I got this.
Well, Kleinsaucer was fullback and tight end. He could hybrid.
Where's Henry Hanoski at? Rhinoceros.
Oh my God, I know.
Touchdown, Tommy Waddell.
There you go.
TJ Dockett could have done it, but he didn't do it.
John Kuhn from the Packers. He's pretty good.
Kuhn.
Oh, the Falcons had a
went to one of the high schools I went to.
Hold on.
That's what I'm saying. TJ Duckett.
Yeah, TJ Duckett.
Shout out to Morin Norris, who was the fullback for Frank Gore the years that Frank Gore broke all those records.
Right. Anthony Neal is an all-timer.
Anthony Neal's a good one.
Greg Jones, Jaguars legend, also owner of the greatest stiff arm in football history.
Yeah.
UNC Florida State game. Punched that helmet off the dude's body.
Dan Kreider, former Steelers fullback. He was pretty good, like for Jerome Bettis and Willie Parker, like the mid-2000s, won a Super Bowl. Good fullback. There was another one for the Jets who was really good. Also played for the Chiefs for a year. What the hell was his name? That's really going to bother me. He was very good.
Not Wayne Corbett.
Started with an L. That's going to really...
Oh, Lorenzo Neal.
I don't think it was Lorenzo Neal.
No. Well, he was with the Jets too, wasn't
he? He was.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Jets 2008 roster. Hold on. I'll find him. That's really going to bother me. Really going to bother me.
Tommy Bohannon, receiver of the only touchdown pass thrown by Blake Bortles in Jaguars Steelers playoff game.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh, by the way, also shout out to Bruce Miller with the 49ers, who was a pretty damn good fullback until he punched an old man in the head.
Look, man, fullbacks are insane. Fullbacks and linebackers.
Well, a redheaded fullback too. Like that man never had a chance.
Fullbacks and linebackers have to be the same amount of psychotic.
Yeah.
Tony Richardson was the Jets fullback.
Tony Richardson.
He was good. He was quite good.
Bring Brian Cushing type linebackers.
Oh yeah, Brian Cushing. They don't make them like that anymore because they test for those drugs.
Oh,
now.
yeah,
JP, there was one for that. You remember last year during Trivia Bowl? Froton was guessing the Dolphins running back, and he said that he played against this guy in Little League. Who the hell was it?
I don't remember who it is, but it was so obscure.
Oh, it was a crazy pull. I think it was something.
Give me my Brandon Jacobs running backs back in the league.
Ooh,
Brandon Jacobs was good. Him and
it's also like I love the teams that are like that perfect trio with Derek Ward, Brandon Jacobs, and Ahmad Bradshaw. That's when we used to be a proper country. Where if you're going to do the running back rotation or whatever, have a collection of three very different backs that make it very fun.
Distinct backs. Three different body types, three different running styles. If you can't have everybody being around 5'10", like 205. I need somebody who's like 6 feet, 260 pounds.
Yes.
Bring me Eddie Lacy. Give me Eddie Lacy type back.
Eddie Lacy after an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah, give me Eddie Lacy. Can
I just say real quick before we're already so far past this, but I would like to say for the mock draft picks, I wanted to shout out Kyle Madsen, who did a mock draft today on the Niners Wire, where he picked an Oregon Duck, which obviously I am a big Oregon fan. He picked center Jackson Powers Johnson, who can we just talk about the Niners? Yeah, at 31. Can we talk about what a great name that is? Jackson Powers Johnson. That's a football name.
That's a real Midwesterner.
That's a football name. And if you think I'm not getting Powers Johnson for a jersey, you're out of your mind.
Chase, you remember Courtney Upshaw?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's real edge play right there.
Oh, Courtney Upshaw is absolutely an edge.
70 pounds.
Yeah.
Pernell McPhee, come on. That's real linebacker.
Pernell McPhee, yes.
Terrence Cody is definitely a defensive tackle name.
Terrence Cody, come on.
Yeah, Cody was just.
These are some guys.
We're naming guys now. Remember Tank Carter from TCU?
Yes.
I was a big Paul Posluszny guy.
That's a linebacker name.
Jag legend.
That's the most linebacker name you could think of. They had Dan Connor, Paul Posluszny, Tim Shaw. All of them got drafted or were picked up by NFL teams. I think Tim Shaw went to the Panthers. Dan Connor went to Dallas. And Sean Lee. Yeah, Pennsylvania had a nice little run.
And then you have guys who just make the name cool. Like Ed Reed would not be cool with anybody outside of Ed Reed. Yeah.
But also speaking of JP, Taylor Mays was a guy that played in the wrong generation.
Come on.
Taylor Mays could have been Cam Chancellor.
Taylor Mays in the quarters heavy defenses where he's just coming off the roof. Destroy.
Don't ever expect that man to turn at all. Can't turn for the life of it.
Hey, DJ Swearinger, come on.
DJ Swearinger.
I'll tell you who I thought was going to be
William Moore was a hitter.
LaRon Landry was a hitter.
Oh, yeah. LaRon Landry got too big. He got too small.
LaRon Landry said the juice is loose.
That's fine.
LaRon Landry got too big. He got too big.
Was very fun to play with in NCAA football 2007 in that LSU team. Very, very fun.
Lofa Tatupu.
Very good. Very good.
Lofa Tatupu was great. Yeah.
He was good.
Ray Malaluga. Come on.
We're just naming Samoans. We're looking too forward to WrestleMania weekend.
One of the greatest modern nose tackles I've ever seen play. Haloti Ngata.
Haloti Ngata, Oregon legend. Absolutely.
Real Hooper.
Yeah. AJ Hawk, man. That guy, we're talking big dudes.
Well, it's also funny to think about. Like, there's a lot. I was looking at just the different. Like, there's. I think I lost count of like 3 or 4 starting Hawaiian quarterbacks in college football this year. And it's just kind of funny that Hawaii has so many NFL. Like, the Polynesian pipeline is just so good, and it's just like it's just weird that it's football where the Polynesian pipeline is so strong. And I mean, obviously at Tennessee, it's going to be awesome with Nico this year. But it is interesting that like I just don't imagine high school football is that big in Hawaii, and you just think about like Texas and Georgia and how much it matters here, and then Hawaii is putting out all these awesome prospects.
It's not only Hawaii, it's guys who move from Hawaii to play in California, Utah, in the western part of the country, like the Sewell family. They played high school football in Utah.
They did.
So they came from Hawaii to Utah.
Wait, Matthias Kiwanuka.
Yes, Austin College.
Hawaiian names, but he wasn't Hawaiian, but that's a Hawaiian ass name.
Chris Fuamata-Mafala.
Woo, that's a name right there.
Deuce Latui.
Steelers legend.
Deuce Latui, the guard from Cardinals.
Oh, Mikey Potty.
Yeah, 49ers legend.
Domata Peko.
Oh, come on. We're naming guys. Let's do it.
We got it.
I love it.
This is tremendous.
Jarrett Bailey, what can the good folks check from you all across the internet this week?
Tomorrow, I guess today, if you're listening to this as a podcast, me and Nick Farbaugh from Steelers Now are going to be doing a Steelers stream on the YouTube channel, which I've been trying to pay more attention to. Just past 500 subs. Nice little milestone.
There you go.
Celebrate on the YouTube. So get me to 1,000. That'll be lovely. So him and I will be what?
I said, or else.
Or else.
Get him to 1,000, or get 1,000. Get him to 1,000 subs, or else.
Hold on.
I will show up outside of your house playing.
I got the Danhausen flag. So either sign up or be cursed. And what else am I doing? Written stuff. Feature on Kalen Carson from Wake Forest. That'll be up on USA Today later this week. Doing another feature on Jamari Thrash, the receiver from Louisville, which will be up in the coming weeks before the NFL draft. Continued Steelers coverage at Behind the Steel Curtain. So all that written stuff. And then, podcast and whatnot as well. You can find that on the YouTube. So busy.
There you go. I love it. What about you, JP Acosta, over at SB Nation everywhere else this week?
Going to be doing a lot more NFL draft content this week. Got a piece coming out about Drake May. Going to be doing a lot more stuff with analysis, putting out my big boards. Going to expand it to 100, possibly over the weekend.
Ooh.
So we're moving and grooving as we get closer to the NFL draft, and going to be highlighting some smaller school guys that I really have my eye on.
I love it. And then, Evan, what do you want to tell the good folks as we wrap up, as we do each and every week on this show?
Subscribe to Jarrett Bailey's podcast and get him to 1,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, get him to 1,000.
Read JP's articles.
Yeah. Yep.
And give Chase Thomas at least 1 star for every podcast he does. You should max out at 5, but like max out at least 1.
I mean, I do 12 to 13 a week.
That's impressive.
And by the way, I just got the
that's why they pay you the big bucks.
First designs for a potential clothing brand
that you're doing.
That's
okay.
Exciting. 49ers inspired ish.
Okay. Do we get the hookup?
Yeah, for no. You will buy it to support. To support.
Oh, I love it. All right, well that's cool. We'll have some more merch to rock here potentially.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Hopefully it's not like dry. I don't look like Evan. Don't make it muscle friendly. Like we don't want the Jarrett.
No, I
want
my big thing that I don't want to talk about like the details of the actual brand, but my big thing, like people always say like fix a problem that you have or whatever. I hate poor quality shirts. I hate poor quality shirts. It drives me insane. I hate when I buy something that I like and I can't wear it because after I wash it once, it's tossed. So what I am going to do is I plan on taking less money in profit so that I can have the best quality shirts that I can possibly find when I design them. And I want them to fit very well. I don't know if I care about comfort as much as just like.
So we're going cashmere here. The cashmere brand.
No. I'm talking like heavy, like heavy duty, like thick like well-made t-shirts.
You can't get better than cashmere, Evan. $120 a shirt. It's gonna be great.
Who are you charging to?
All right, boys.
I would love to do a Chase Thomas podcast cashmere
making exclusively shirts for Kirk Cousins. He's the only person in that tax bracket who can afford that.
There's a whole Seinfeld episode about cashmere.
There is. Oh, Milo's made an appearance. Look at him. Hey, Milo. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Oh.
Look at the good boy.
Oh, he's always on watch.
I love that.
I feel like I should make my dog make an appearance, but I don't know where he is.
My dog is passed out in the back behind me. She is.
Loki, where are you? Come hither.
Well, I think this boy is telling me that he needs to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's time. JP, Jarrett, Evan, thank you guys as always, and I'll talk to y'all next week.